if I thought, oh my gosh, I have to race soon, like that was not helpful. So I was just trying to think, okay, I'm going to turn up to a few more sessions this week and a few more sessions the next week. And I think the small goals really helped.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a special bonus episode of Vulnerability for this season. It's definitely been a while since we've done Vulnerability, and the season was actually done, except I wanted to do this little bonus episode because I've been very inspired by one of my greatest friends this season, who you can obviously tell on this side, is Harriet. So Harriet is usually the other host of Vulnerability, but I, in this episode, am just interviewing her because she has done some incredible things this season, which a lot of you probably know of, but in case you haven't been keeping up to date with surf sports, this is a quick summary of what happened. So last season, and in February, Harriet, we were all competing in the Nutri-Grain Ironwoman series, and in round 4 or 5, no, it was in round, was it round 4 or round 5? Round 5.
Round 5, yeah.
In round 5, Harriet had, during the race, fell over and badly injured her foot. She broke a bone in her foot and had to be carried off the course and sent straight to hospital. And this is when she was competing really well, probably coming 4th, and the positions were all really close that season. So it was a horrible thing to happen. And what makes it even worse is this was the second time Harriet has had this injury. So it had happened 2 years ago, and then it happened again during one of her best seasons. And it was just devastating for her. All the athletes were obviously very sad for Haz as well. And she had to have the rest of the season off to recover, have surgery on her foot, and pretty much do a complete rehab on her foot again. And she'll go into more detail of this. I'm probably saying everything a bit non-medically. But yeah, so Harriet started from scratch for this season, had to come all the way back to ground zero pretty much and start again. And she has come out and pretty much been the most dominant Ironwoman this season, maybe even one of the most dominant Ironwomen we've ever seen, because she won the Nutri-Grain Ironwoman series, which is just amazing, to go from not even finishing all the races last year to coming back and winning this year. And then I think you also won the Summer of Surf overall Ironwoman series. Did you, Haz? Yeah, which is also amazing. And the Summer of Surf has definitely become a really elite and prestigious series. So to win both in one season after not even finishing the last season is just incredible. So today we're going to debrief on all of that, and I can't wait to hear all about it.
Thank you, Lizzie. That was quite an introduction. And one thing I will point out is that it was ligaments, not bones. So it's that's totally fine. It's medical jargon, but yeah. So bone health, bone strength is fine. It's just like a Liz Frank ligament, so quite random, quite unlucky. Yeah, but now I've done both. That won't happen again. But more importantly, before we do start, what tea are you drinking?
We definitely have to have our tea. I am having an English breakfast, bit of a midday pick-me-up.
And I'm having chamomile.
Love it. Cheers to some cheers to some tea. And I can't wait to ask these questions because I have been so inspired, and I think what you've done, Haz, is amazing. And I can't wait for all the Jolan listeners to hear all about it. You ready to go?
I'm ready. Yeah. It's
right.
A bit harder answering the questions.
Yeah, on the other side. Right. So my first question is, how did you feel going into this season? Obviously, it was a different start to what you would normally have in the season, and you were just coming back from recovering from surgery. So when you first started getting back into training, how did it feel going into this season?
Yeah, I was really slow at the start. So after having so much time off, especially so much time off swimming, for one thing, when I don't swim for a while, I can be pretty slow. It doesn't really come naturally to me. Yeah.
How long did you have to have off?
Well, I had surgery, and then 3 months later had another surgery, but I did a little bit of training in between times. But then I had to have another 10 days off after the second one. Yeah, I didn't run for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, a long time.
But I started doing a little bit of swimming in between the two surgeries. A friend of mine would drive me to the pool because I couldn't drive, and I'd swim around 1,500 meters with a pool boy in, and that was more for mental health, to feel like I was doing something and to get a little bit of like muscle memory in my shoulders rather than just be out of the pool for the whole time. So yeah, a little bit of time off, a lot more than I would usually have for an off season, that's for sure. So yeah, when I started going back, I did a little bit by myself, and then I joined the adult squad at Miami for a little bit, just to ease back into it. And then when I came back to full squad, I really struggled to keep the time cycle. I swim at Bond, and a lot of elite surf swimmers in my squad, and it was a struggle at the start, and it took a while. Usually after the off season, I might come back and it takes a couple of weeks to get back, back to speed again, but this seemed to be taking a long time. And especially with swimming, I definitely had doubts of like, will I ever get back quick enough? And this was probably taking a couple of months, and I was really not getting back to where I wanted to go, especially when all the other girls are at training, or the guys, and everyone's doing really well. That was quite hard. Board and ski, kind of similar as well. I lost a lot of strength. I lost a lot of conditioning. So it's just kind of swallowing that humble pie, I guess, and being okay with being at the back of the pack. And that was something that I knew was going to happen. I'd been through it before. But gosh, there's some sessions when you're there and you're at the back and you're like, I'm putting so much effort in. How am I ever going to match it with these girls? Like, how am I going to turn up to the line in a couple of months' time and actually try and keep up? And when I would let my mind spiral like that and start to think negative thoughts of, I'm not good enough. And I wasn't for so long. I really wasn't. And I really just peaked right in time. But gosh, those negative thoughts just took over sometimes of like, I'm not good enough. And one of the other hard things was that I would turn up to iron training. This was for months and months because I couldn't run on sand for quite a while. And I might do like a little bit on sand and then it would pull up sore. So then I'd have 2 weeks off and then I'd go again. So iron training, I was just doing the whole spin the board in the shallows, jump back on again. And that was frustrating. But I think that what I really tried to do is I tried to really appreciate what I could do, because I'd spent so long out of it. I was like, this is so good. I'm back. I'm here. I'm able to swim. I'm able to train with my friends. I'm able to do this. And so many times I was able to really appreciate and enjoy it. But I think I also had that doubt in the back of my mind of, I'm putting so much effort into this. And I think every athlete has this, like, I'm putting all this effort in. What if I can't get better again? Or like, what if I won't get fast again? But that's not constructive. It's not productive. And so it was really a bit of a mental challenge to try and focus on the small things and the small wins, rather than, in what was it, July, August, September, I was still just running, sometimes walking, a bit of a struggle at the back. And if I thought, oh my gosh, I have to race soon, like, that was not helpful. So I was just trying to think, okay, I'm going to turn up to a few more sessions this week and a few more sessions the next week. And I think the small goals really helped.
Yeah. And just to build on that, at this point, like when you thought about racing in the summer surf and the series during that time up to September, what were you thinking?
I was definitely doubtful. To be honest, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to get there, or I don't know if I'll be able to do it well or properly. It's funny though, because quite a few people would ask me like, oh, will you be back in time? And I would just be like, yeah, I'll be fine. I'll be good. And I think I was saying that because I wanted to convince myself. I wanted to convince my coaches that I was going to be okay, my sponsors that I was going to be able to race, and just trying to stay positive. But definitely there were a few times and people would ask me like, oh, how's your foot? And I'd be like, yeah, it's going really well.
Yeah, I totally get that.
No one likes being injured, and no one really likes to talk about it, especially when you're in the thick of it. So I did feel quite isolated in that way. And I didn't really like to talk about it. I just wanted to turn up, try and do what I could do, and not focus on racing, like just thinking a little bit longer. But it was good when things were delayed. I think that really helped me.
Yeah.
So relieved. With COVID, our races were pushed back if you weren't
Yeah, definitely. And that, like, in hindsight, that's, like, for you, incredible that that actually happened. And was oh, I forgot what my question was going to be. They can cut this.
Do you have it written down?
No, because it was building on that, but I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh yeah, I was going to say, and I guess the fear of getting to the line and not racing to what you expect yourself to race at is a massive thing to carry around when you haven't raced in so long. And I know that would definitely scare me if I was in that position as well.
Yeah, just on that, it was I got to the point that I felt kind of all right in the water, so fit enough. I was like, I can get around and not be like like I can't do this. But I still had a lot of fear in my confidence with running into the water. I was really hesitant for quite a while, and I knew that my foot was strong and it was recovered, but it was more of a kind of that mental hesitancy of trying to like hold yourself back. And I think it didn't help. One time I was doing agility and I rolled my ankle and fell over again on it. And then after then, yeah, I didn't tell anyone, but I just took another week off running. But it was after that I was like, oh, I don't have confidence in it. Like, it's not strong enough. It's not sturdy enough. And so it's an injury kind of can hinder you even past when it has recovered, because you get so cautious. And so having to mentally try and tell myself that it was fine and I can run fast into the water, that was kind of like a bit of a mental challenge as well.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds so hard. And then despite all this adversity that we've just spoken about, come January, we rock up to Bondi in the first weekend of January, and Harriet wins the Summer of Surf Ironwoman race. And then just the next weekend later in Bondi, she also wins the first round of the Ironwoman series, the Nutrigrain Ironwoman series, which is just incredible after everything that we've just spoken about. How did it feel to win those two races back to back?
It actually felt amazing, and I couldn't believe it, to be honest. And at that time, I still didn't have a lot of confidence in myself. I remember even going home thinking like, oh, that was a fluke. Like, I got lucky. And I was even telling myself like, oh, like, you know, just enjoy this win, because it, you know, you probably won't get another win this season, which is so silly because you should really be thinking positive. But I truly believe that. I really, truly believed that. And it really took, you know, the next couple of days, or that next day of racing, I think I backed up and came second. And it was after that I actually thought to myself, okay, like, you are fit and you are strong, and I can do this. Like, I can, you know, match it with those girls. And I think I lift a little bit more for racing too. So I think that helps. Whereas sometimes at training, if you're not on all the time, that can be hard for confidence as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously the third round of the series got postponed because of a tsunami. And then we did 4 back-to-back races up at Broadbeach. And the first 2 races, the surf was okay. The second 2, the surf was absolutely enormous, probably the biggest surf we've ever raced in. But Harriet still got consistent was it the top 4 or top 3? No, you were on the podium every time, weren't you?
I got first, second, and then 8th when my paddle snapped.
Oh, yes. But still, even in massive surf, you were consistent, and like, it just showed that it wasn't just luck in those first two or 3 races. Like, you were absolutely the most dominant Ironwoman. And then when you realized that you had won, could you believe that after everything that had happened this season that actually happened?
Yeah, not really. I mean, yes, in a way, because it had taken a little bit of time, but I think I just went one day at a time. And I know this season there was a lot going on with, you know, other girls being sick and that kind of thing. So, you know, obviously that helped me. But in saying that, I still felt really confident in myself. But I tried to each race and just take it one day at a time. And I think that's what you have to do. You can't fixate on the goal of of winning. And my goal this season was never really to win. It was to try and have some really good performances and try and race my best and finish feeling like I didn't make any silly mistakes or anything like that. And also to try and feel like I'd given it my all. Because I think sometimes when we finish a race and if we think, oh, I probably could have gone a little bit harder there, I could have made a move there. I hate that feeling. So that was my goal this year, was to just try and like have nothing left and make good decisions. And then that all just added up to be a really great result.
It's just the most incredible story. I like watching from the back, I guess. No, watching from being in the field was just insane. Like, it was so incredible to see what you had done after everything that had happened, like the physical trauma, the emotional trauma of having to go through an injury for the second time. It was just the most incredible story. So, which leads me to my third and final question. And now that it's been a month since that has all happened, and I guess you've had some time to sit down and reflect on it all, what are you most proud of looking back on the whole season, starting from when you were just getting back into training until now?
I think I'm most proud of my ability to stick with it and not to give up, which sounds like a bit of a silly thing because, you know, we just slowly get through and get better. But I had a lot of people asking me after that injury, oh, are you just going to stop now? Or even little comments like, oh, you're always injured. And that played on my mind. And the last thing I wanted to do was sacrifice. So we have to sacrifice a lot of training, a lot of hours, a lot of time away from work where you would be getting a set income kind of thing, to put all your eggs in one basket of, getting up every morning, training every night in pursuit of a dream. And I guess I'm proud that I stuck at it even when I didn't feel like I was going to improve and get better. And I mean, what I think helped me was that I enjoy the process of training. So regardless of whether I would have won or come last, I was happy the fact that I was committed to training, committed to getting better, feeling fit, feeling like I can recover to be able to, do life. And I think that if I wasn't, going towards a goal, and if I was just a regular person, I probably wouldn't have been as committed to my rehab. And I see that as an exercise physiologist. I see people not commit, and then their life after that is a lot harder. They can't run and jump and skip and do all these other things. So that was a big motivator for me. But another hard thing is just like in our sport, I feel like there's not that much support for people who are injured or people who are going through difficult things. So I'd like to see some of those things start to change.
Yeah, and it was cool that, I guess, learning that was a really, like, even though it sucked to have to go through that, like, you now know what changes you want to see in the sport, being at the top of our sport now, and you can really drive that change. And I think that your story is just such an incredible story of resilience. And for me personally, like listening to your story, the resilience isn't in like all the races that you won, but it was the like starting in a point where you were very uncomfortable with like not having your normal base fitness going into the season, and just working through all of that, regardless of what everyone said and the expectations that might have been put on you. You stuck at it, and it really just, you embraced so incredibly and so dominantly, and it was amazing to watch. And this story is going to be so beneficial to anyone that listens to it, especially knowing that it's never over. If you have a goal, no matter what hits you one season, like, you can always come back the next season and give it a go. And yeah, I just think what you've done is so amazing.
Thank you. And I'd just like to say one more thing, because I think that this could be really helpful to others, is that I feel like when you're going through injury, part of it is physical, but a lot of it is mental. And trying to enjoy what you do and go through the process and enjoy racing, and like not being fearful of whether that's results or training or getting to training and being worried about, I mean, I'm saying things that I still went through. But yeah, just trying to enjoy it all and be positive. And I think that the mind is a lot more powerful than potentially the body can be.
Yeah, that's such great advice. And I think anyone who listens to this will be inspired. I certainly am. So thank you so much for sharing your story, Haz. Cheers. And we have 2 weeks left of our season now until we get a big break, which is exciting. And yeah, I hope everyone has a great start of the year, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.